This is Breaking Down Security, and I am Brian Brake. Welcome back, listener. This is Brian, Ms. Berlin, and Mr. Betcher will join us a little bit later, but this is Breaking Down Security.
Hello.
Hello. All right. So yeah, Mr. Betcher, he's not here right now. Thursday nights are his maintenance window at work.
I wish I could do a better job of impressions. I would have said his,
hey guys,
his little hello too.
Hey. It's slightly pervy, but with like, Southern accent. So, hey guys. Yeah, there you go.
He breathes into the mic a little less than you do.
Oh, really? Sorry.
I'm joking.
I'm working on my Mr. Betcher. So anyway, we're going to make up for last week because we were lambasted by people on our own show that we didn't have a lot of information security topics on last week. So we'd been planning this one for a while. Shortly after DefCon, somebody reached out to us and said, hey, I was on the Social Engineering CTF at DefCon, and he did fairly all right apparently, and he wanted to come on the show and talk about it. So I was like, yeah, because I have only heard things about it and anecdotes and stories. So, welcome, Robert. Oh crap. I do better. Robert Sell. I'm sorry, Robert Sell.
You can just call me Robert. That's fine.
Robert Sell.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I usually have the chat window up with your name or something.
All right, let's start all this over again.
Yeah, we're just 3, 2, 1, go.
Fix this in prod.
Yeah, we'll just fix
That's
it.
Okay.
Fix it in post.
I've been called worse.
Robert.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Cool.
Pleasure to be here.
So, Robert, tell people a little bit about yourself. What you do in your normal day job when you're not socially the engineering the things.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think we're all social engineering all the time, actually. But what I do for a living is I'm in IT. I've been in IT for as long as I can remember. I just worked my way up through support, sysadmin. Now I'm in management. And I've been doing that for about 20 years now. Security is a big part of that. And social engineering has never really been a formalized component of that. But it's becoming more and more so. And I went to DefCon 2 years ago, and I just sort of wandered into the social engineering village and saw what they were doing in there. And right away, I made myself a promise. I said, I got to be part of that. And then I was this year. So just an amazing experience.
So you went like last year, saw what was going on, and then you decided this year you were going to train up for the Olympics or whatever, with all the montages and everything and getting better and stuff. And then you did
playing
it this
rocky
year.
Music.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I last year was my first time at DefCon. You go to Black Hat, and Black Hat's very kind of formalized. It's very kind of your traditional conference. And that's what I was used to. It's very regular. You go to your different talks, you get your lunch, you go to more talks, then you go back to your hotel. So very kind of typical. And so I thought, well, I'll go to DefCon. It sounds exciting. You get your ticket as part of your Black Hat registration, which works out great. And it blew me away. It's so different. It's more like going to Burning Man than it is going to a conference, I found, right?
Wow. Okay. I've never been to Burning Man, so I don't know that either. So
I want to go to Burning Man so bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go to Burning Man, right? I mean, we're all out here to learn, and DefCon is, I would say, for your dollar especially, right? You're not paying a lot of money, but what you're getting is phenomenal, right? Because you're not going to passive talks and just kind of listening and checking your email. You're actually going as deep as you want to go. So last year when I went, I walked around, I took little bits of, everything. I went to different villages, I listened to a few talks, and I realized, holy cow, you can go really deep with this. Even in the lineups, right? You're talking to people, and you're meeting people from the CIA. You're meeting people that won't tell you their real names because, maybe they're doing stuff they shouldn't be or whatever, right? But everybody's super interesting, very friendly. So I just learned so much from those few days. And then the social engineering village was just kind of the icing on the cake. And I was just I said, okay, next year I'm going to spend a lot of time in this room and go real deep right here. And that's what I did. Yeah. So I highly recommend it over anything else.
Okay. All right. So give us an idea of what you had to do to prepare for the social engineering bit. Because from people are out there who've obviously been to DefCon, and from what I've heard, and I mentioned this before the show, I said, all I know is that there's a phone booth, you sit in it with a phone, and you call companies and make them divulge information. And there's, much like a regular CTF, there's certain flags that you have to get from them. So you either call, phone, tech support or whatever. So you said that was fairly concise, but there must be some additional things that you're doing to prepare for this, because obviously you have to do, I mentioned vulnerability OSINT, getting research, but you have to do a lot of that for this, right?
Yeah. So the process, the way it works, they release, they put an announcement out. They say, okay, we're going to take applications for this CTF. And you put in the paperwork, you say, hey, my name's Rob, I'd like to do this. And then they also ask for a video, which is optional. But if you really want to do it, you should put in a video, because hundreds of people apply. And a lot of the chance of you getting selected is going to be based on your video. They kind of want to see who you are. Can you get in front of a group of people? Because getting in front of 300 people for 20 minutes and trying to perform can be nerve-wracking for people. So they want to just see, can you make a video and can you talk to us and do something entertaining?
Tell me about your video. Like, what did you include in yours? Like mine's still out on YouTube.
Is it? I got to go look for yours. You can watch mine because it's on YouTube as well. And so I knew that I was up against some really talented people out there, right? When you go to DefCon, you realize you meet some wonderful people and you realize how experienced and awesome they are, right? So I knew that that's what I was up against. So how do I compete with that, right? I'm not, a social engineer expert by any stretch of the imagination. So what do I got to do here? So I got to make a really interesting video. So that's what I tried to do. Unfortunately, work and life gets in the way sometimes. And so I was really running against the schedule pretty tight. And so late at night, one evening, I went down to the basement. And I'm like, okay, I got to get this done. I got like an hour or two. Let's just crank it out. And so that's what I did. I went downstairs. I got an Xbox and a TV downstairs. And I used some of the Xbox platform toys to light up my face, and which I thought seemed reasonable at the time, but it made me look super creepy. And unbelievably creepy. And then my script really was trying to convince someone to click on a link. And the whole thing just turned out to be super creepy and weird. But at the end of it, I was like, that's kind of what I'm looking for, really. Because at the end of the day, you're going to watch that and it's going to be burned in your mind, right? Maybe not in a good way, but you're not going to forget about me. And so I went with that. And, I think it had the effect I was looking for, because they sent me an email and said, Rob, you're up, which totally freaked me out. Yeah, because I was super happy, right? It was mission accomplished. At least I got my foot in the door, right? So I get to play. And so I was just, on cloud nine. I was so happy. I'm going around telling everybody, hey, I'm going to DefCon. I'm going to compete. And then, you get out of that little honeymoon stage and you realize, oh, crap, now I got to do the work, because the worst thing that could happen now is I go into the booth and just don't really do a bad job based on my lack of prep, right? So I thought I have to just prep.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. My evenings and weekends were gone. And I had 3 weeks to get it done. And, I say my evenings and weekends were gone. And I put in over 100 hours of time on this. Maybe more, just a huge amount of time. And, but it was so addictive once I started getting into it, right? So that stage, once they give you the letter and say, here's your company, here's your target company, and this is the industry that it's in, because every year they pick an industry. And this year it was the gaming industry. Right. And they gave me the company, which was weird because I own a bunch of their games. So I felt a little bit bad that way. But
who was your company?
I had Yeah, so I can't really say that, but I can say they make awesome games.
Okay.
So
is it some sort of pseudo NDA kind of thing?
I thought we were allowed to tell, because I tell people all the time.
Yeah, I'm just a bit careful with that, because they were actually upset. And so I think a lot of companies that become part of DEF CON involuntarily, they have this knee-jerk reaction where they get really upset and they feel kind of cheated, I guess, by DEF CON.
Right.
And it's really too bad, right? Because the SE CTF is super well organized. You know, Chris and his crew do such a good job, and they're very careful about the information that gets sent out to the public, right?
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, the flags are all relatively benign, right? There's no PII, there's no credit card information, there's no passwords, there's nothing like that, right? It's information that's all publicly available, so it's, you know, it's pretty safe. And anything that gets communicated live, they mute. So if someone's going to give out some information about their username or something, they mute it, so nobody in the crowd hears it. So they're extremely careful that way. But still, companies, I think, get a little bit, especially initially, that knee-jerk reaction. They get a little bit upset sometimes. So I'm a bit careful.
I think I remember him telling the story once. Maybe it was him or maybe it was somebody else that was there. That a year or two before I did mine, they did like big box stores, and like one of the higher ups at Meijer was in the room when they did the call.
Oh my.
Yeah. So
yikes.
The company I did was regular attendees at DEF CON. They were at DEF CON when I was doing my competition.
Ouch.
And their whole IT department, I had pictures of all of them, and they're, a lot of them were wearing the black hat DEF CON, shirts and t-shirts. And so they're usually there somewhere.
Yeah.
So they weren't in the room during the exercise, but yeah. So then once you're accepted, you've got 3 weeks to do your report, and they give you a template because most of us are actually terrible report writers apparently. And so you get a template, and you get your flags, and you've got, I think it was 29 flags that you have to go do your OSINT on.
Goodness.
And it was just so fun, right? It's just going down this rabbit hole. And as I got going, you kind of begin to think like you feel you know the company, right? You know the people in the company. And it was so neat. Like I knew what gym memberships they had. I knew, the executives' personal cell phone numbers and where they lived and how many cats they had. And it just went on and on and on. I think at the end of the day, I had over 1,000 data points on all these people.
Now,
so,
are you allowed to call them beforehand to get information, or is that a no-no?
Yeah. So that is one of the big rules. Is what you want to do in your report is have your target phone numbers, and so that's who you're going to call, and then you need to have your spoof phone numbers. So who do you want it to show up as? Mm-hmm. So you are not allowed to engage in any way. If you did, it would be you'd get way more. But for this exercise, you're only allowed, the only engagement you can do is to call and confirm that the phone numbers you're calling work.
Right.
So basically you have your number, say it's for their main reception, you phone it, she picks up or he picks up, and you say, oh, sorry, wrong number, and you hang up.
Okay.
So that's as deep as you can go.
Right.
Real attackers, of course, could do a whole bunch of stuff, arrive on site and everything else, and you get way more. So.
Now, did you feel the need to maybe, I don't know, maybe other competitors did this, but did you think maybe you should have flown to the headquarters to see what you could find out? Maybe do a little dumpster diving, that kind of stuff? Because I'm thinking OSINT is not just Google dorking. You might have to do some physical stuff as well. Yeah. Go up to the guard and say, hi, I'm here to see Joe, Bob, Billy, or whatever. Did you find the need to do any of that?
No, you're not supposed to do that.
Oh, okay.
And I think that takes it up to a whole different level.
Right.
If you're permitted to do that, then you could just go to town, right? There's so much more you could get doing that. But it was fun to be limited that way, right? And it's actually was pretty far away from where I live.
Oh, okay.
So it was fun to have that restriction, right? Because it really forces you to become really good just with the online stuff, right? And you had to get really creative. I hadn't spent a lot of time before doing that, and so I didn't have a lot of automated systems all set up to go do geotag or geolocation with social media. I did a lot of it all by hand, right?
Okay.
I was chasing these different paths where I would go on the SlideShare and find a reference letter, which would have then some of the executives' personal information on it. I would use that then to go a little bit deeper and just layer on top of layer.
Right.
So, yeah, it's great.
Okay. So, Amanda, you mentioned before the show as well that you had competed in an SE contest. Does a lot of what he said echo what you were doing, or was that contest in different?
No, I don't think they've changed a lot. I mean, it was just this was 25, so 3 years ago. It was just a different industry. I think sometimes the questions might change a little bit, just so they're not the same from year to year.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the concept is pretty much the same, I think, since they've started.
So, all right. So I'm going to ask this question to both of you. So you had so many data points. Were you using those data points to then get that answer from whoever it is you're going to call, and that was to verify they actually had the right answer? Like, how many employees do you have in your office? Or, I'm looking for the VP of finance, but you already know who the VP of finance is. You're just wanting somebody to give you that answer back. Or,
I mean,
how does that work?
Ideally, it didn't work like that for me.
Well,
yeah.
Go ahead, Robert.
On the calls, you can, if they tell you that information again, you get those points, and it's actually worth more on the call.
Okay.
And once you get somebody on the phone, which was, my biggest challenge was getting them to pick up, you can then go to different people, right? So if I say, what kind of computer do you have from person A, they give it to me, I get points. If I move to person B, same question, I get those points again. So it's a little different than the OSINT, where you can only get those points once for that particular flag. And asking them, okay, what kind of computer do you have, I found was less effective than confirming what they have if you already know it from the OSINT. So usually just have them say yes was way faster and easier.
Do you get the same amount of points by them saying yes? Or if you say, is Bob Mitchell the VP of finance? If they say yes, do you get the same amount of points than if you said, hey, and you get around it and somebody says, oh yeah, that's Bob Mitchell, our VP of finance. Is it different by them confirming it or them volunteering the information?
I don't think there's any yes or no questions.
There's no yes, no questions?
Yeah, it's the same points. Same points as long as they confirm who it is, right? So if you were to say, Bob's your VP, right? And they confirm that, then you'll get the points for that. If you say, who's your VP? And they say Bob, you get the points as well.
It's the same amount of points. There's nothing,
Yeah.
Okay, so them confirming it or them volunteering it I would think that them volunteering that information would be more damaging than you asking them something like, is Gordon Shumway your VP, and they go yes, It seems to me them volunteering that information would be more damaging in the long run, but
absolutely, because that's usually the information you don't have.
Exactly.
Right? So if you already have it, you're just getting them to confirm it. It's probably much easier for you to harvest online. But if you don't, and you have to actually ask them, okay, what is that? Then that's probably going to be worth a lot more to you as an attacker.
Yeah. So Amanda and Robert, tell me some of the things that you actually looked for when you were doing your research, and what sites did you go to? What things did you do to gain access to the internal workings of these organizations?
Go for it. You're the guest.
All right. Thanks, Amanda. Wow.
I get to talk whenever I want. So.
All right. So because it's a company, my first go-to tool was LinkedIn, right? And it's just so nice that way. And there's some tools out there that will allow you to get more out of LinkedIn without having to pay their higher membership fee. That you can pull down a lot of data. So it's so nice because you've got all the employees for that company listed there. They put a lot of their social media links from that, so you can just start spiderwebbing off from that, right?
Right.
But it's fantastic because you've got a whole bunch of stuff right there to start with. So you can kind of build your platform based off of that. So I'd say that gave me probably, 20-25% of my information right there, which was fantastic. Organizational structure, everything like that. There's a whole bunch of the normal ones as well. Twitter, Facebook, those were great. I really like Twitter because you can go through it fairly quickly. But then there's some more obscure ones, like SlideShare actually gave me some really good reference letters with some personal contact information, which was fantastic. Oh, and YouTube as well. I got a company tour of their office on YouTube, which gave me a whole bunch of points right there. Wow. So those are my go-to ones. Yeah. I mean, it's different if you're doing it individual as opposed to a company. For a company, I love LinkedIn.
Did you look at things like, SEC filings, or did you maybe contact past employees? I know you said LinkedIn and you were scraping. Recently, there was a company that was sued by LinkedIn or something because they were scraping the site, and they were recently found that, you can't stop people from scraping the site. So that was very instrumental to getting you to, where you ended up. But did you contact like past employees maybe and go, hey, this is, this is the HR of blah company, you left some stuff here. We need to verify some few things before we send it to you. Did you ever impersonate people or call past? No?
Not for my OSINT, right? So there was no contact, no engagement as part of my OSINT. It was really just collecting information that's on the internet. Okay. And you kind of follow different branches down depending on what person you're looking at. So some of the key targets that I was looking at, I wanted to have more information. So I developed a bit of an algorithm for different pretexts that I had. So I had a pretext for interns because my algorithm really kind of focused on having people that were new to the company, new to the industry, and that because they wouldn't really know a lot of the rules, they wouldn't have a lot of a user awareness training. They wouldn't know who to tell about some suspicious phone calls. And so with that pretext, I would start to look at what school they went to. I'd go to the website for their school, what they majored in, how long they were there, what they did as far as special hobbies while they were there. So I could call from that school and really relate to them about what they did there and kind of really get that, build that relationship while I was on the phone. So depending on your pretext and who you're looking at, I went down different kind of rabbit holes.
So you were attacking children, is what you're saying. You were attacking the unpaid. You were attacking the poor intern. Yeah.
So yes.
Have you no shame, sir?
Well, I mean, it's a game, right?
Right.
I didn't violate any interns. I didn't get any on the phone. So I feel pretty good about that.
Cool. So, Amanda, did you do any of that stuff, or was there anything that you did differently in your experience to do it?
So I did use LinkedIn. And a funny thing about that is I think they cracked down on it more, but I was able to SE LinkedIn so I could get my own API key.
Nice.
And plug it into what's the free version of the OSINT?
Oh, damn it.
Crap.
It's the one with the transforms.
Yep.
Yeah, transforms.
It kind of looks like Metasploit.
Yeah,
I've written about it before.
Robert, help us out, brother. Help us out.
It's fantastic.
Datasploit or?
Shit. I'm dying here. It's not Armitage. I keep thinking Armitage, but it's not Armitage.
There's people listening to this just
they're screaming
into the podcast.
They're like,
it's this.
Yeah, I can feel it. Anyway, we'll come back to that. So, we'll come back to it. I know people are yelling at us, and it makes me sad.
Yeah, I used that tool.
Okay, Maltego.
No. The command line version.
Oh,
that's not Maltego.
Okay,
but it's like Metasploit, but it's not. I can't. If I went and looked for it, I would be able to find it.
People are gonna yell at us.
Whatever. Yeah,
I
know.
Sad
I know.
now. I can already feel their hate. So
when you guys are talking, I'll look it up.
Okay, do that. Do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
anyways, I was able to use that for LinkedIn, which was kind of cool because I just pretended like I was somebody else, and they gave me one as a researcher. And then there were a couple other things that were cool that I use Shodan a lot. Ours were telecommunication companies. So I was able to find like logins to their F5s and their VPNs. Wow. Like they had a whole bunch of self-signed certs on the logins for their F5s.
That's awesome.
Was any of that helpful for the actual calls that you made?
That's a whole, I didn't get any flags on my calls, and then I went into like a full-blown anxiety attack when I was done. It was really bad.
So how many times? So is it a room of people who are doing this all at the same time?
No. They put you, like they say, like my call was at 11 o'clock Saturday morning.
Okay.
And you just know you have to be there.
Oh.
And Jen Fox won that year, and she went before me.
Yeah.
And she just knocked it out of the park. Like she does that for her job.
That's the worst.
Oh.
And she just knocked out of the park, got all the flags. She had like this dossier of shit and like just what she was gonna say and who's like just this big binder of stuff. And I legit had my phone with my report on it. That's it. I had nothing. I had never watched a call before hers. I loved doing the report. Like the report was like my jam. I got to like sit behind my computer for hours and just, to write the report. But yeah, I went after her, and so all of the other companies had storefronts. Right. So like Verizon, they have a storefront where they're open on weekends. My company had no storefronts. They provided like phone service and DSL. So I was forced to call I found the HR manager's personal cell phone number.
Nice.
So I was like trying to call. Like I got her on the phone while she was driving. And yeah, I had zero luck, and I wasn't any good at it. So
okay. So you guys mentioned several times that you found personal phone numbers of people. Did you use tools like or websites that like People Finder or White Pages or Spokio or those things to find that information? Yeah. Did you actually pay for those things, or did you just use multiple websites? Because I found that like Spokio will give you some items but not others, and then if you go to like White Pages, they'll give you other parts that were missing from the Spokio stuff. So you don't necessarily always have to get like the $40 membership for the full background check.
Yeah, I spent no money. So my mandate was not to spend money. And Spokio, you can use it for free limited, right? You have limited functionality. Yeah. And there's a whole bunch of them out there. So who's the guy? Michael Bazell. So his website, you can go there. It's really nice because he's got everything listed there, right? So if you've got their email address, you go there, punch it in, and it lists them all there. So, and you can use a whole bunch of those ones that are similar to Spokio. If it doesn't give you something, the other ones will.
Yeah, I used Spokio. I use Pipple quite a bit.
That's a good one.
Yeah, Pipple's a good one. White Pages is always a good one too.
Family Tree Now
is
like crazy accurate.
It's crazy good. Yes,
that's creepy.
Yeah.
I found the name of the tool. It's Recon NG.
Oh God, that's
nice.
it. Oh God.
By Tim Tomes.
Yes, Landmaster. Yeah, Landmaster. Yep. Oh,
you know what I like, which most people don't look at, is the wearables, right? So everybody goes and does their run and stuff like that, and whether it be what's that, Run Keeper? There's that one, and there's
like
what's the other one that I really
Map My Run.
Yeah, Map My Run.
Endomondo is one.
Yeah. And so you can friend people on there, right? There's Strava. So
Fitbit has a community too where you can friend people as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can find people on there and hopefully see where they ran, right?
Right.
And,
a lot of my phone numbers, I was looking at my report, a lot of my phone numbers I found on, they had some open web directories with just stuff in it.
Wow.
that I pulled some stuff out of.
Okay.
Like I know the different escalation numbers and cell phones of like their knock.
Oh, very cool.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
For numbers, you know what was hilarious was their dial by name. And so many companies have this, right?
Okay.
You dial into their PBX, you hit 1 or star, whatever it is, and it just gives up everybody's phone number. And sometimes titles as well.
Yeah.
And, if you're a real attacker, you just go in, get all of that, hit everybody's voicemail, which usually tells more about them as well. And you just get heaps of information just from that.
Yeah, especially if you get an out of office where the guy's like, yeah, I'm going to be in Cabo this week, so please don't contact me or whatever. And you're like, okay, sales guy, easy guy.
Yeah. Right.
So we had some questions because couple people asked. Mr. J Huff Baywolf on Twitter is a slacker of ours on our Slack, and he asked, I would be curious if he had a Hail Mary up his sleeve in case the person on the phone was about to shut the call down and what it was.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think the typical answer would be never stop your pretext. Never say, oh, yeah, you got me. I think the joke is even when they're putting the handcuffs on, you want to keep in character. But I differed from that a little bit. So my Hail Mary really was to congratulate them. And that's in the spirit of what Chris Hagnaghi teaches is that, never leave the person feeling bad after you've talked to them, right? And so if they're on to me and they say, hey, we don't think you're really who you say you are, my backup was to say, you know what? Congratulations. You caught me. That is so amazing because you're the only one who's caught me so far. Right. And I've been hired by your company to do this and to check everything. And you know what? That's fantastic. I'm going to mark down that you passed. You're the only one. But can I ask you these questions to get a baseline and confirm the answers? Right. So I continue my attack, but I congratulate them on questioning me. So I never did that, but that was my Hail Mary.
Okay. Let me see.
I hear that works really well in person too. Like if you have a get out of jail free letter or whatever for management, like if you're actually on an engagement and you just never use your letter, you try and get out of it anyways.
Yeah.
Because then it doesn't count.
Yeah. So David, another one of our Mr. Cybuck, he said, does he know and practice accents? Southern, Boston, British, Russian, etc.
Oh, that's another good question. And I love accents. I spend a lot of time talking to people down south, and I like to think that I could pull that off. But in reality, I'm not an actor. I can't do accents very well, and I can't sustain an accent, right? So I think trying to do an accent is asking for trouble. Yeah. Because it won't last. Even the best of us, it just kind of, we know a few words, how to do a few words well, but after that, we forget about it because we're thinking about our flags. And, I just think it's a bad idea. I think the more important thing is to try to match the person's tone and way of speaking. And so if they're a bit shy, don't overwhelm them. If they're, an executive who's going to be more assertive, then you want to be a little faster in your talking, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll try to match the person, but not give them a fake accent.
Yeah. So you said you didn't tell us beforehand, but you're a dirty manager. You're not really InfoSec people. I feel, feel a little betrayed and social engineered by having you come on the show, to be honest. So how is this going to help you, or how are you taking this back to your current position and educating your people on the experience of this? I'm sure this must make things like potential phishing examples and training, where you might give training to your people and go, look, I went through this. This is what people look for. These are the kinds of questions people ask. This is how we know we're being hit on. Yeah. try to deflect, try to send it to me, and I'll BS the BSers or whatever. How do you what are you doing with this now that you've learned it?
So it's really interesting, right? Because I knew going in there that this was a growing threat, and coming out, it just reinforced that thought. And it's very cost effective to do social engineering, right? I can, trying to get through people's firewalls and spending a lot of time at the technical level, right? It's very costly. And whereas social engineering, all I have to do is be lucky, right? I don't even have to be that good. So DefCon really proves that, right? The Social Engineering Village shows that you can take 16 amateurs, they can go into a room, we prepare a little bit, but we're not professionals, and we're going to pull a bunch of information out, right? And we haven't even gone to the site or engaged people at all. So imagine what you could do if you did that. And we hear about it in the news all the time. You hear about these nightmare stories where the CFO transfers $50 million to the bad guys because someone phoned him up that sounded like the president and said, we got to do this wire transfer. So it's real, it's growing. And, it would be really embarrassing to fall victim to something like that, right? And if we did fall victim to that, I'm pretty sure it's the InfoSec guys who are going to take the heat. Yeah. So, I think it's something that we all have to take seriously. And so I came out of that thinking, okay, I got to get to work here. It's not just, patch management. It's, I got to take a look at this and how am I going to solve that problem? So, we're going to spend a lot of energy over the next year really ramping up and doing OSINT on our own company, on our own people, doing phishing calls with our executives, right? So I'm going to mess with our execs, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and hopefully, they like it as well. But, that's what we have to do. I think we have to harden our people, right? You do the little bit of user awareness training. We do the, typical companies might do that once a year. You do the old click-through stuff, which is not that effective. And we have to improve that and modernize it and make it fun and interesting. Yeah.
So do you think you think it should be a requirement of people, and I'm going to ask Miss Amanda this because she just started her new job too, to do OSINT on your company and find out what you can find? Is it necessary to do that and see if there's any, holes plugged? And do you think that, because of all the stuff you found on LinkedIn, do you think there should be a social media policy so that people shouldn't be necessarily advertising what companies they work for? Now, I understand for some departments, it's a badge of honor and they're bragging, hey, look, I work for, blah, 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 whatever. But should they be advertising that? Because it does make them a target, obviously. I mean, you showed quite easily that can be used against them.
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, we'll let you go first because you let him go first last time.
Okay. I think you should do OSINT on any company that you plan on working for.
Okay.
Before you go to work there, because you may not know what you're getting into.
Okay.
I wouldn't have made one career choice for sure already if I would have done that prior.
Now, what are you talking, like you went to Glassdoor and found out the place was a POS and you didn't go?
I should have looked up their IP address space on Shodan and seen how badly their security was.
Oh. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Yeah, like actual, like technically related stuff. What was the other thing I was going to say? You said policies against sharing stuff on social media.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a badge of honor for a lot of us. There's a lot of information you can get from LinkedIn. But I don't think you can stop people from creating profiles on. I mean, you could try, but it's not going to happen. Maybe teaching them a little bit better way of how to word things might be better, because you can't just say, like, at this company I implemented this brand of this rev this way, and I mean, you're giving away a lot of information at that point. Or you could just list, I've worked with blah technologies.
Yeah.
There's a difference, a big difference, I think, when you're connecting the dots. But then, I mean, if somebody's going to attack you and they may not use that information anyways, just because if they get a hold on the inside of your network, and they're already there, that information, it doesn't matter anyways, because they're already on the inside and they're going to be able to find it with scans or passive listening and all the other tools and stuff. So
okay, Robert, same question.
Yeah, I think the policy's good to have. I think you want to put in there, how certain behaviors may be inappropriate. I think sometimes people lose sight that in person you can behave one way, and that doesn't really often change online, right? So you're still accountable. The problem with policies is nobody reads them. And you can write an awesome policy and you can put it on your, intranet or SharePoint site or whatever you have, and nobody looks at it and, or clicks through it. And so I think you have to do a little bit more than that and educate people and tell them, okay, why do we have this policy and what does it mean to you? And so doing my OSINT of the company, I found things like pictures of their VPN client. That's probably not something you want to put out there. So, you want to educate employees that say, hey, by the way, I know you have a Twitter account, no problem. I know you're on LinkedIn, no problem. I know you want to do some self-promotion. That's not the issue. All we ask is that you be responsible when representing our brand, and then also try not to make us less secure. Don't advertise what our VPN is. Don't talk about what kind of access cards we have, and just limit that, right? Yeah. And I think that awareness is pretty easy to do. I think as IT people, we tend not to focus on that as much as maybe we should. User awareness training can be pretty fun, and it gets you out there. And I think we just might need to do a little bit more of that, a little bit better.
Cool. Okay, so I have one other question. So, did you get briefed before or after you went into the booth? Did if you didn't get enough flags, would they even let you in there to compete?
Yeah. So some people got more flags than others during the initial OSINT phase. Some people had a real hard time. Some people did awesome. But once you're accepted, once they say, okay, you're in as part of the 16 people, you go to the end. Okay. And you come to Vegas, and maybe you're going to do really well at Vegas, even if you didn't do well in the first phase, right? Or vice versa. One person didn't show up in Vegas. We don't know what happened, but and maybe the person just felt, well, I didn't do great in the first phase. I'm going to bail. But I'd recommend nobody bail and just see it through. Okay. Because you never know.
They're having one at Derby this year too.
Yeah, I saw that. Mr. Huff mentioned that they were going to have it at Derby, but he missed the deadline, so he couldn't join in. So I would be interested in watching that just for my own edification. Very cool. All right. Well, I don't think Mr. Betcher's going to join us. If he did, he's probably going to miss the whole thing. But he would have loved to have talked about this. I think it would have been he would have enjoyed it greatly. So, Robert, do you have an online presence that somebody might be able to contact you and discuss more about your experience?
For sure, yeah. So probably the best way is Twitter. So it's at Robert E. Sell, SELL.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay.
That's the best way to reach me. So yeah, I welcome any questions, any recommendations, especially, right? So if people are out there trying to develop an OSINT program for their company, or they just want to go back and forth with me and on questions and ideas, super happy to do that.
Cool. Excellent. So Miss Amanda, you're busy jet setting and everything. You were talking about your B-Sides Wellington appearance. You're going to be in the NZ there in November. So if people wanted to discuss with you things about your new job, or try to run SE on you, how would they go about doing that?
Nothing. I quit Twitter.
Oh, look, you can't rage quit that. It's the more
I know. I'm too tied in. I can't.
It's
I'm a little break. We're just We're just on a break.
Are you on a Ross and Rachel break? So you're gonna,
yeah.
Okay.
It'll be fine in a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, but it's like I can Tina. Oh, sorry, baby. I'll be better next time. And then you come back, and then it's
and it just beats the shit out of you again.
Yeah. I'm sorry if you were triggered there. I apologize. That was it's so explicit. It's such an explicit tag.
Send your hate mail to at Brian Break.
bds.podcast gmail.com. I apologize.
But on Twitter or Slack more lately, at InfoSyster, INFOSYSTIR.
Okay, very nice. Mr. Betcher, if he was here, you can get a hold of him at Betcherpwned, BOETTCHER PWNED on Twitter. He's also our IMF security. He does the LogMD thing, so if you want to talk to him about that, that's great. And you can also go to malwarearchaeology.com and discuss with him that stuff. So we are on Twitter as well. The official podcast is at BreakSec, and you can follow me, Brian Break, at Brian Break, BRYANBRAKE. We have a Slack. A lot of people on our Slack. Mr. Cell is going to be there soon, I hope.
You got it.
There we go. See, look at that.
We need to get up to 1,000 people.
Standing up right now.
Social engineered. No. So you can... So you can sign up if you want to come over and have some interesting conversations. You go to breaksec.signup.team. We have all kinds of stuff going on. We got red teaming. We just started our book club. The book is Cyber Operations Building, Defending, and Attacking Modern Computer Networks by Dr. O'Leary, I think, or Professor O'Leary. I won't say doctor because I'm not sure he's a doctor, but you can get that on Amazon. We're going to do that. We actually handed that off to Mr. Cybuck, who's going to be heading that up. We'll have a U.S. and a European version. So
I'm so glad too.
I'm delegating.
Dude, once we were done with ours, I was so happy.
Yeah. Well, I think we did it wrong. It was like our second book. And
it drug out forever.
We shouldn't have done one chapter at a time. We should have done 2 or 3 chapters at a time. And Mr. Cybuck is going to fix that for us. So I'm delegating that to him. He's one of our lieutenants that's going to be doing that. Breaksec.signup.team. So thank you to all of our patrons. Thank you for the very successful PowerShell class we just did with Mick Douglas. We have a handshake agreement with our instructor. We're actually going to do an intro to reverse engineering course. We're hopefully going to start that, I want to say, after Derby, probably mid to late October. So we're going to be doing that. And I have a handshake agreement with the instructor. He's writing a syllabus right now, as a matter of fact. So, and that'll be very much enjoyable. I look forward to that one. I am going to be front row center for that. So, so if you're in Seattle and you don't know where to meet up people, I have a meetup that I've been doing for about the past 2.5 years. It's called CSEC East. We're on meetup.com. You can go search for us, or at CSEC East on Twitter. We meet once a month on the first Tuesday of every month, except for next month. It's actually the first Wednesday because of the holiday. But it's a good networking opportunity, and we have a Slack channel. Actually, if you just go to breaksec.signup.team, we have a channel called CSEC East, and you can, meet people and network with local Seattleites and Bellevueians and Redmontonites, or whatever they're called. So if you work in Seattle and you want to get some networking done, please feel free, or in the East area, So, did we miss anything? Did I forget anything, Miss Amanda?
I'll be giving my tutorial in October at O'Reilly.
What's that? What tutorial is this?
It is called something about...
Is this the thing in New York? Is this the thing in New York that defensive?
This is the thing in New York.
Okay.
It's 3 hours long, and I'm having one hell of a time trying to figure out how to create content for, because I've never given anything longer than an hour.
Oh yeah.
So at first I had like 200 slides. I'm like, that sounds like a really, really bad idea.
Oh right. Less memes. Less cat pics.
I did put the one meme in today.
Okay.
That we did. But yeah, I'm doing 3 hours on It is called Reversing the Kill Chain, an Actionable Framework for Defending Against Common Threats.
Dang.
Yeah.
That sounds fun. We should do the podcast on that. Do you know who
So I thought about doing a training on it, maybe.
Oh, that'll be sweet. Yeah.
But it's only 3 hours, so it would only be like...
That's okay. 2-3 week, class or something after Derby, but before our intro to RE. That would be great. Robert, are you going to be attending any cons soon? I know you said you weren't going to Derby, sadly.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to Derby. So there's one here in local Vancouver that I'm going to go to, just a day one. So
you're just up the street.
Yeah, I'm just north of you.
You're on the other side of Canada.
Oh, you're on good Canada. Wait.
Wait a minute. No.
God.
Toronto's good Canada.
Yeah, I'm West Coast, so.
Yeah, West Side. Yeah, nice. So yeah, if you make it down to Seattle, you got to come and we'll have some coffee or something, or come see Sec East.
I'll tell you when I'm down there.
Oh, fantastic. I didn't know you were in Vancouver. Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah.
Good Canada.
I'm sorry, that's not good Canada. I can't say that. I've been to both sides of Canada. I've been to Prince Edward Island, Halifax, Nova Scotia. I've been up to Quebec. I loved all of that.
You know what? They're all good.
I love Canada, man. And I'm sorry we're the hemorrhoid of North America right now. So
of the world.
Of the world, we are the hemorrhoids. Oh, sorry. All right, let's get out of here. That was it for this week on Breaking Down Security. Be safe. Be nice to one another. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
And we're clear. Oh my goodness. Great. We are the hemorrhoids. Yeah.
I don't know how you do that, just continually. That's amazing. Well, I guess you've done it before, so it's not that big of a deal.
I have, yes. I actually, we mentioned the accent thing. I actually was in high school. I did several accents in high school.
Yeah.
I can imagine that, not getting the accent to stick when you're under that kind of pressure. You got 200 people looking at you. Are they heckling you when they're doing that stuff?
No, they're amazing, right?
Really?
So, yeah, they're just wonderful people. The whole crowd, I can't emphasize that enough. My experience at DefCon has just been, and not everybody has the same experience as me, but for me, it's just been incredible as far as the people, right?
So you could hear like a pin drop when you're doing this stuff?
No, not really. I mean, you'll hear people talking, but the booth is soundproof. And so you can kind of hear them. And when something happens, everybody's like, and you can kind of hear whispering, and it's like, oh, he got that flag,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
cool.
And when you change pretext, I noticed that when I changed pretext, I went from the FedEx guy to just the HR person. It's your tone changes, and I heard people talking about that, but they're so good.
Yeah,
amazing.
I'm thinking about it now. I'm like, are you I never asked the question, but are you planning on doing this again next year? And what did you do then that you're like, man, I should have done this? And you're like, you'll fix it next year when you're doing it. If you do it next year.
Yeah, so to answer the first question, I'm going to do it. I'm going to apply again next year, and hopefully I get in. I also want to try to give back more every year. So I want to try to talk next year as well. So either both or one or the other.
Very cool.
Would do. Yeah. I just, it's an amazing event, and it's what you make of it, really, I think is the secret there, right? Because I see people wandering around. Actually, I took a guy with me this year from work. I said, you have to join me for this. It's going to be the best conference. And he liked Black Hat, but I don't know how much he liked DefCon because it was his first time. Yeah, and there's no structure, right, compared to some of the other ones, right? It's really just, go do your stuff. We're not serving lunch, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're not used to that and you don't know how to deal with that, then it can be a bit of a problem. But for me, it was like, you know what? I got my power bars. Let's get this going, right? So
that's awesome.
Yeah. And what I'll change next year is I spent the first 10 minutes trying to get somebody on the phone, and that killed my time. I got, more than half my points in the last 30 seconds, I think. And it was just rapid fire.
Wow.
Boom, 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 boom. So next time it's going to be get somebody on the phone.
Nice.
So I'll be working on that.
Miss Amanda, you should try out again too.
Never again.
Why?
Come on,
Why? What's
Amanda.
wrong?
Nope. I didn't enjoy it.
It'll be you and me. We'll conquer.
Oh.
They used to do teams.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
If we could do teams, I'd be game. Like, let me do
that'd
the
be
report. Like,
Yeah.
I would write reports day in and day out if I didn't ever make a phone call again.
Yeah.
Like, I have phone call anxiety. Like, I can't talk to people on the phone.
Yeah, I could never do sales because the cold calling thing, I couldn't
But
handle that.
you guys do this without any problem at all. It's the same thing.
No, there's
No.
prep. There's prep involved, and
No, there's
I'm
not.
sweating. I sweat. I mean, I've got pits going on
Yeah.
right here. I mean, and
They have products for that.
that is a true statement. That is a true statement. I don't. I've always wondered about going to DEF CON or maybe speaking at a legit event, not like the ISSA Rainier where we had 3 people the last time I went. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe the CTF thing or maybe something ancillary. Did they give you a stipend or like a free ticket to DEF CON to do that, or you still had to buy in?
No, I still bought in. And, the price for DEF CON is so affordable compared to anything else, right?
Yeah.
So you know what? It's like, here, take my $300 or whatever it is. And it's just,
Okay.
I'm happy to pay that for what I'm getting out of it.
Yeah.
So
Are you coming down for any of the cons in Seattle, B-Sides or HushCon or anything like that?
I'd love to go to B-Sides. I went to B-Sides in Vancouver this year, and I thought it was really good quality. I want to
Nice.
talk at the B-Sides here next time it's on. Oh, I'm signed up for, there's a, what is the company? ISACA. They're bringing
Right.
in, what's his name now? The king of social engineers. They're bringing him in. What's his name? What's his name? Oh, I got my
Mitnick?
picture with him.
Man,
Yeah, Mitnick. Yeah, they're bringing in Mitnick. So that's early 2018 in Vancouver. So they're selling tickets now for that.
Damn.
It's called BC Aware Day.
Okay.
So I'll go to that. But yeah, I wouldn't mind making it down there to Seattle.
Yeah.
One of the things I didn't talk about in the podcast, but
Do you want it in the podcast? Because this may be after audio.
I don't mind.
Okay.
Yeah, put whatever you want in. Whatever I'm
Okay.
saying, you can have.
All right.
So I volunteer. One of the things that I'm doing after my DEF CON experience is I volunteer for search and rescue up here in Canada. I think up here it's all volunteer.
Yeah.
And so we do various things. We do rope rescue. We do, of course, CPR. There's a bunch of different things that we have to learn how to do. Tracking is one of them. So if someone goes into the bush and we have to find them, we might track them.
Oh, tracking
But-
would be
I want to
awesome.
do that so bad.
Yeah.
Like
Maybe I
you
should
mean
teach
like
that at DEF CON.
animal tracking where you
Well-
could say, okay, this is a 3-day-old print because
Yeah.
oh, that
This
would
is
be
how
awesome.
big they were. This is how they were walking. This is their speed of
So
walking.
I grew up hunting, and I always really enjoyed that kind of stuff.
That's
So-
awesome. That would
It's
be
fun,
great, like ancillary, not security, but security kind of talk. That would be awesome.
Well, yeah, it's my two worlds kind of combining, right? Because I'm in IT. I do a lot of InfoSec as part of that, and that involves doing things like OSINT. But then I'm doing this search and rescue volunteer part of my life, where we sometimes go out looking for missing people. So if they think the person is, say, in the woods over there, we'll go looking for them.
yeah.
But so then I started thinking, well, what about all the missing people that we're not involved in? Say the person that's goes to the 7-Eleven and then is gone, right? So we don't get
Yeah.
involved in that. And there's not a lot of resources to get thrown into that, right? So as the family of that missing person, you're kind of thinking that there's a lot going on, but sometimes there's not, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So with people with our skill set could actually make a big difference in that area, right? So I've been starting to look at that on how we could basically crowdsource people with our skill set to spend time looking for these people that go missing just based on OSINT, right? And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I've been sort of looking at that so far, and I think there's huge improvements that we could make, as a society to have these people help out with that. So one of
Yeah.
the projects I'm working on right now.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I mean, you'd have to interface with law enforcement, obviously, to get the clues and the the data they have. Actually, it's funny you mentioned that crowdsourcing the thing. There's like a new TV show coming on with Jeremy Piven down here on CBS that's talking about crowdsourcing, crime solving or something. So
Yeah.
they're just a little bit ahead of you, but yours is probably not as Scorpion-like as theirs is going to be. So,
yeah, I'm not going to have all the special effects they've got.
Yeah,
and, I'm really just focused on missing people. It's not so much criminal activity. And I'm not trying to be law enforcement or anything like that.
Right.
So this is really hands-off. It's okay, I found this evidence, and I'm going to submit it in this report to the authorities. I am not getting involved. They may already have that information. I don't know, but I'm just contributing.
Yeah.
So that interface as well would be a bit tricky, right? So that's something I'm getting a lot of advice on and taking very slow and figuring out what's the appetite there for that from the authorities.
I would imagine you'd almost want to be like a PI and get your PI license. That way you could more easily interface with the law enforcement that way and still work outside the bounds, but still work kind of with them, so that way they're not, you're vetted in some way. So you're not just like a psychic walking up going, oh, yes, buried under there, or whatever. Plus, I mean, once you got law enforcement, involvement, you'd be able to use things like facial recognition technology that they've got. I know Seattle's having issues with a lot of the police cams that are going on in the area, but a lot of other cities don't have that issue. So, it really depends. So. Awesome. If you wanted to come down and speak at CSEC East, I've got a little thing brewing with the CSEC East thing where I'm going to be talking to a technology company called Unity. NCC Group did an open forum there where they had some speakers and stuff. And we normally just go to a restaurant for like 3 hours and talk about stuff. But if you ever wanted to come down while we were doing kind of this idea where I'm working at and talk about maybe this search and rescue stuff or how you handled the DefCon thing, I would love to hear a talk about that and and look at your report. That would be fantastic. Is your report open? Could we put a link to it?
Yeah, so we don't share the report.
Oh, right. It's got the company's name in it. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I can talk about the report. Yeah. So we're pretty careful about that. And I actually destroy the report after I hand it in. I don't want to have it, get out there.
Right.
I can talk about it, but I just want to be really fair to that company.
You should definitely submit a talk to B-Side Seattle. I think that would be a great discussion of what you did to, do the OSINT for that. I think that would be a good talk for you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'll do that.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Robert, for coming on. I'm sorry you didn't get to meet Mr. Betcher. I will send you an autographed picture of him. And
what's that go for on eBay right now?
Oh, it's definitely guaranteed to go up in value.
Lots of money.
Tens
Where's
of
mine?
cents. Tens of cents. It's in the mail. Actually, that's what you're getting on the 2nd on Saturday. Yeah,
I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's an inflatable Mr. Betcher, and so.
I talked to you about the fact that you can buy fairly cheap custom cardboard life-size cutouts.
I want to get a fat head of him and put him on my wall here.
Oh my god!
Get a fat head, yeah. I think that would be pretty cool if I could, pan the picture over and it's just him on the wall.
Yes.
So I'm like, every time I get lonely, I just look up at Mr. Betcher. That'd be fantastic.
That's so creepy.
In a good way.
In a good way. Exactly.
Nope.
Exactly. What?
Nope.
Man. All right. Well, y'all have a good night. Thank you again, Robert. This will probably go out after the U.S. Labor Day holiday. So probably around late Monday or Tuesday. Thank you again for coming on, and it was very much appreciated.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was a real honor.
Yep.
So.
And seriously, if you're down here in Seattle, hit me up. I'm just half an hour from Seattle, and we'll definitely have some lunch.
Likewise. If you're up here, let me know.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. All right.
Sure.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Later.